gentlemen, it's that dynamic duo that you are always looking for. And no, I am not talking about Batman and fucking Robin. I'm talking about Lamont and Larry, the double L's, ladies and gentlemen. We're
That's
back
right.
in the building to do our world news educated politics segment. That's the living legend, Larry. How you doing tonight, my brother?
Oh man, I'm always good on Wednesday when I come through, man. You
I
know,
appreciate it.
got
Appreciate
got
it.
my got my herbal tea.
Oh man, is you sure
Yeah.
that's not Ripple in that cup, my brother?
No, man. Can even see the steam coming out a little bit. Got my. It smells good too. It's Bengal spice tea. This stuff says it
Oh,
smells good, tastes good. If you
oh,
haven't tried it, try
Larry, Bengal spice tea.
it.
Hey, you done found a new Viagra, my brother? Bengal
You know,
spice
so
tea. Sound like you said Bang Bros spice tea. What the this dude here, man? Lord, so you never know what you're gonna get from the living legend, Larry. You never know. Shout out to
man.
everybody that's rocking with us right now. And we've got a pretty hefty lineup to try to entertain you guys, but also give you some information and give you some good steps that you can take to just take care of your family, watch out your back, love your loved ones. Tomorrow's not promised. Even though you plan for tomorrow, it still ain't promised. Just doing all the things you can to enjoy life to the fullest. And Larry, I'm not gonna be the black Rush Limbaugh this week. I changed my mind. I ain't in the mood for that. But I do have I just ain't in the mood to be the black Rush Limbaugh tonight. I do have my notes and my paperwork, and I've got a number 1 through 6. And would you like to hear what's on these categories?
I do. I almost want to jump into these comments right quick with this dude Motown talking about. I always wanted to know, Lamont, what makes you think Trump is racist? I almost feel like I want to address it since this fool is right back in the news already. And I think this dude just might be he might just be one of those dudes trying to be provocative. I'm not sure that's a real question though.
Yeah, we'll briefly touch on it when we get to. Well, you already know it's a Trump segment in here anyway, so we'll briefly get to it when we get there. So, Larry, I got 1 through 7, and would you like to hear the title of each one?
Yeah, let's go for it. Let's
give you titles. Okay. Charlotte mourns a fallen sister. Blacks judging blacks. Have respect for the honest racist. You can't make this stuff up, man. You can't make this stuff up. Dems hold the blue wall in the Senate. We're not going back to the future. We're going back to the moon.
Ooh.
Okay. Trump versus Raggedy Ron D. The D does not stand for DeSantis. It stands for a 4-letter appendage that 72% of the men on planet Earth have. And last but not least, Trump is back. Which one you want? 1 through 6. Pick a number.
Let's go with number 3.
Oh. Okay, that one's last. That's a feel-good story.
Oh, okay. Then let's go with the what was the one with the black on black joint?
Oh, number 6, blacks judging blacks.
Blacks judging blacks. Let's go with that.
Okay,
let's hear what that's all about.
All right. So I was on a thread the other day where you had some, I guess, professional blacks having debates with blacks that haven't quite gotten into their career yet. And the ones that hadn't gotten into their career wanted to know, why was the older ones that had gotten to their career, I guess, kind of preaching to them as if they was never going to make it in life. And somebody put this clip up, and we'll talk about it. It relates to a TV show where some of the same stuff was being said, and we'll jump right on in here with it right now. Here we go.
I never judged you. Oh, you judged me immediately. Just like a white man in a boardroom looking down on me because my hips are too wide and my hue too dark. Oh, so we're going there. Wow. You think we soul sisters just because you rented out a hair salon for a few hours on the black side of town? Please. I dealt with plenty of bougie-ass black women just like you. Spend most of your life in a boarding school, Ivy League universities with a horse between your legs and a silver spoon in your mouth. You're not the only one who knows how to Google. You called me a hot mess, remember? But it sounds to me that despite all your failed attempts to stand above me on your little pedestal, we're the same. So keep it real, Olivia Pope. Why'd you leave the White House? You know your skin tone and measurements aren't the reason people don't like you. It's you. Annalise Keating, you are a bully who insults people and then wonders why they won't help you. But hey, you're just trying to keep it real, right? How's that working out for you? Can't be that great if you had to haul your broke ass on the megabus to beg for my help. You may think you know who I am and what I'm about, but don't get it twisted. We are not the same. So allow me to reintroduce myself. My name is Olivia Pope, and I don't have to explain myself to anyone, especially you. Kevin, you can come back. We're done. Don't worry about your wash and press. I'll be sure to put that on my Sididdy-ass no-limit platinum card. For my own damn hair.
Okay. Shout out to Will Ray coming through with the $5. Keep up the good work, longtime fan. Sent you a DM on IG about your last show, Wakanda Forever. I appreciate that, homie. I'll go check that out later on. So, Larry, the peoples was saying judging. And most of the time when people think of judging, they think of it in a derogatory manner. But let me give you the textbook definition of judging, just so we all on the same playing field. Let me pull that clip up. Where is it? Here we go. This is the textbook definition. Judging. To form an opinion about through careful weighing of evidence and testing of premises. To form an estimate or evaluation of, especially to form a negative opinion about. And they use the example, shouldn't judge him because of his accent. To hold as an opinion, guess, think, I judge she knew what she was doing. To sit in judgment, try, judge the case. To determine or pronounce after inquiry or deliberation, they judged him guilty. So, Larry, do you feel like Black people judge each other too much, or is it just one of these situations where we critique situations as we see them?
Honestly, I think it's a bit of both. We do have an issue when we judge each other a lot in the Black community. Sometimes it is it's justifiable. Sometimes it's not. But I feel like we do judge each other for all kinds of stupid things. We judge each other for not wearing the right brand of clothing, for not adhering to the right politics, to not liking the right type of music, to not sounding how people think you should sound.
That's true.
Not using the right accent or grammar or anything else. They're all reasons why we judge each other. And so, yeah, we judge each other a lot. We really do. And
now,
sometimes,
don't you feel like
we should.
Right. I was going to say, don't you feel like,
not for those reasons, because of how your hair or clothes or the way you sound, not for those reasons. Those people, you should not be judged for those reasons. But there are reasons why people should listen to what you have to say and then judge accordingly.
Because, Larry, life is nothing but a continual learning and evaluation. A nice way of saying judging is evaluating. As a matter of fact, it was just in one of those definitions we just read. You kind of are evaluating someone. It's just that oftentimes when people hear the word judge, they start thinking, what is he doing bad? Or what are they doing bad? That's the first thing that comes to someone's mind. And there are times when, like Larry said, there's times when you need to have someone give you an honest critique of thyself or whatever you're doing. And then there's times when it should be one of those things where it just don't matter what they have to say about you. You do you. That's how I look at it, Larry. Do you. And if doing
we judge.
Go ahead.
No, sorry, go ahead. I was gonna say we judge each other all the time. Even simple statements that we use to sort of soften the blow still is judging each other. It's like when people say, you know, are you dating him? No, we're just getting to know each other. That's all you're doing is you're judging that person. You may be taking a more slow, deliberate approach to judge the person and decide, is this someone I want to be in a committed relationship, or is this someone that I want to have as a long-term friend? You know, and it's just one of those things. We all do it in our life in lots and lots of ways. They do it, you know, it happens when you go to a job interview. They're judging you. They're looking at your accomplishments. They're looking at who you are as a person, how you present yourself, all of that. And then they're passing judgment on whether or not you're going to get the job or not, you know, or how much they think you're worth, even if they offer you the job. I mean, there's all kinds of judgments being made.
Right. So I think to summarize what me and Larry both are saying, there are such things as healthy judgments or evaluations, and then there's such thing as negative ones. And you just, as an individual, got to know how to take the constructive criticism or evaluation or judging the right way. And if something comes that bothers you, just shrug it off. Do your thing. Do your thing.
Here's the other part where
your circle.
Right. But here's the other thing that happens with Black people a lot. And I have dealt with this throughout the majority of my life, is that I didn't grow up in my early years around a lot of Black people. The vast majority of the people I grew up around were white. And so as a consequence, and I grew up in California where people don't have the heaviest of accents to begin with. Some places you go and you may live, and some places in the South, like in Alabama and Arkansas, I've gone to places where you can't tell the difference between a white person or a Black person because they all have that same Alabama or Arkansas heavy Southern accent. And maybe they can tell each other apart, but I can't. But when there are times when, because of how I grew up around a lot of white people, people would say, oh, you sound like a white boy. Oh, you sound like this. Oh, you sound like that. Or they would, there was times where I would meet girls and they'd be like, oh, he's corny. He's corny. He dresses like this. He dresses like that. And then later, they try and get with me later once they realize who I am. And then they're just like, you're different than what I thought you were. I thought you were corny when I first met you. And I'm like, yeah, well, I think you're corny now because you made a judgment about me and you didn't even take the time to say hello, you know? And that's kind of what happens is that there's all kinds of judgments. And that's what happens with a lot of times. What I think with Black people, when we do really silly stuff, especially with our money, we run around and instead of taking thousands of dollars that we have and put that money into investing something or saving it or buying a house or something meaningful, we take thousands of dollars and we buy cars or we buy Birkin bags or we buy whatever, trying to impress the people around us so that we don't seem corny or so that we seem like we fit in, because otherwise we'll be judged because we're not wearing Yeezys, or we'll be judged because we're not wearing the latest, limited edition Jordans, or we're going to be judged because we're driving a Toyota instead of a Mercedes or something. So I think we all make these sort of, we all make different decisions because we're worried about being judged, and we are often judged about things that are sometimes in our control, sometimes out of our control. But I feel like as Black folks and people in general, we should judge each other on the things that really matter and not the silly things. What kind of shoes that you wear and the car that you drive, they ultimately mean nothing.
At the end of the day, you have to make the decision with your own self when you look in the mirror that you define you regardless of what other people are trying to define you as. And if someone really wants to get to know you, then let them do it. You just define yourself how you want to feel.
And here's the thing, especially when it comes to some of the judgments people pass, especially along the lines of fashion. If you look at some of these things that people buy clothes and they spend a lot of money on some of these items. They spend a lot of thousands of dollars sometimes on handbags. And they only use the handbag once or twice or three times, or maybe they use it for a season and they get rid of it. Now, that's really just spending money because you don't want to be judged on having something that's a season or 2 or 3 seasons old. But if you were to spend a lot of money on a handbag, like you go and buy a nice Coach handbag or something that's made out of premium leather, everything's great, and you can keep that bag for basically the rest of your life if you take care of it, because it's going to last forever. Now, if you want to spend a lot of money on a premium product that's going to last forever, great. But if you're just spending a lot of money because you don't want to be judged, you want to be looked at as cool, I think there's just so many other reasons that we can judge people on besides that foolishness. I can tell you right now, as a man, I've never been in a club dancing with a girl having a great time and thought, oh, she's not that cool because she has this particular type of bag, or the bottom of her shoes are white instead of red.
But you did
zero F.
But you did look at that booty and them breasts and the hair and everything else that we normally judge people on. I'm sure you looked at that stuff.
No, yes, there is something to be said. The hair is one thing.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't really judged the hair necessarily so much on the style. I really judge it more so much on the upkeep. Like, I don't really care if you have braids or a weave or wearing your hair natural. There are certain styles I'm more, I like more so than others, but a lot of it really has to do with maintenance. Like, if you come out of the house and you're wearing a wig and it's on sideways and you didn't take the time to even properly pin it up right, that says to me a lot about you and how you view yourself and how much effort you put into your own personal hygiene and maintenance. It's just like if you go out with a guy and you're going to dinner and he has dirty fingernails, it doesn't take much time to simply wash your hands and scrape the dirt underneath. Like, maybe he works in the dirt, but it doesn't take much time to scrape that out. But the fact that he didn't, that says a lot about him and how he thinks of himself and how he's willing to present himself. So there's certain things that people judge on, and we're all different. We all have different ideas about things, and I'm judging people for the way they judge right now, which is another form of judgment. I there you
certain
go. Things to me just are not important.
I got you. So what you got next, man? You've got number 1, 2, 4, 7, and 5.
We went with number 6 before. Let's go with number 2.
Trump versus Raggedy Ron D. And the D does not stand for DeSantis. It stands for a 4-letter appendage on a man. Let's take a look at this coverage of what is about to be the brawl for it all that's going to help keep Democrats in power. Here we go.
Well, you have to define man. If you're going to say it's on a man, you have to define man then. No, because I'm not even getting you in that kind of trouble, man. Move on.
Here you go. Here we go.
Other news today, if there were any doubt over how threatened former President Donald Trump feels after Florida Governor Ron DeSantis' solid win on election night, Stephen Fabian reports Trump's latest wave of social media posts makes it clear.
Mar-a-Lago meltdown.
Former President Trump spent much of yesterday ranting online.
Just hammering Ron DeSantis on social media.
Trump blasting rival Ron DeSantis as an average governor and calling him disloyal. Ron DeSanctimonious is playing games, he ranted. He's also lashing out at another potential rival, Virginia Governor Glenn Youngkin. Now that's an interesting take. Sounds Chinese, doesn't it? The governor had this reaction today.
I do not call people names. I really work hard to bring people together, and that's what we're working on.
I spoke to Trump's former personal attorney turned nemesis, Michael Cohen, author of Revenge. He now hosts a podcast, Mea Culpa. Sort of seems like he's melting down.
Well, he is melting down. He has additional issues as well, which is the abandonment of Donald as far as a GOP leader, a contender, and the potential, we'll call it, nominee.
And it's now being reported that some key Trump family members want no part in another run for the White House.
Ivanka Trump and Jared Kushner, her husband, have no intention of returning should there be a second campaign. They have very little interest in anything to do with Washington or the White House at this stage in their lives.
Don Jr. and his girlfriend Kimberly Guilfoyle are said to be all in on a 2024 run. Eric Trump and his wife Laura are also likely to take key roles. But Melania reportedly has little interest in returning to the White House. By all accounts here, Melania is furious at Donald Trump, her husband. Does Melania want him to run for president again?
Does she want him to run? The answer is no. Is she furious? I'm sure she is. Does Donald care? Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Oh man, I know Ron versus Trump didn't make you yawn over there, my brother. Talk to me about these two.
No.
And then Trump goes in and attacks your governor, Glenn Youngkin. So Larry, the question I have for you is, when we get to primary season, you're likely going to have Mike Huckabee, who's talking about he coming back. You're likely going to have Mike Pence, who need to just go hide on a fucking rock, coward. You're going to have Glenn Youngkin talking about running. Then you're going to have Ron D and Trump. Who emerges from those ashes to take on whoever the Democrats send to run for president?
I don't want to count out Trump just yet because
you can't.
Because you just can't right now. He still has a lot of people out there that support him. I think one of the biggest things that will determine whether or not Trump can really go all the way is whether or not he ends up with enough financial backing. I think there might be a lot of the donors out there, a lot of the big donors that simply say, we're done with this. It was, January 6th was too much, or we're tired of the same old shtick. We're tired of the whole stop the steal thing. It's ridiculous. This is not what we're about. And so that might be what causes him to not be able to win, is the fact that his donors might simply just pull out. But I'll tell you what he did, what I really think was a real error, a political error, was that you have DeSantis, who's wildly popular in his state and gaining more popularity nationwide. What he really should have done with both DeSantis and Youngkin, because Youngkin's also one of those people that's becoming more and more popular. He should have just come out and said, I think DeSantis or Youngkin would make great vice presidents. I need a new vice president since my last one wouldn't stand up for what was right. But I think both of these men might make fantastic vice presidents, and I'm going to talk to both of them about it and see how they do. And that should have been his mantra every time he got in front of a microphone. He should have been talking about Glenn Youngkin and DeSantis would make, and the reason why is that you create that psyche in his voters and all of his supporters. You create that mindset that these men are not presidents; these men are vice presidents. These men are subservient to me. They are my subordinates, and you get that, and you drill that subtly into their mind constantly. Every time you get in front of a microphone, you say, I think DeSantis or Youngkin might make for good vice presidents. And you keep drilling that in to the point that when it comes time to vote, people don't even see those men as the possibility of being president. They only see them as vice presidents. They only see them as someone who can be subservient and subordinate to Trump. But he didn't do that. Instead, he attacked him. And
Larry,
you're attacking two popular people.
That is because that's what he does. That's what he did the last time to win. Everybody that was on that stage, he gave him a pet nickname, got him in the White House. He is not going to get any one of them to be in this vice president. You know who he's going to get? He's going to get that Carrie Lake because he wants to screw her.
No. See, well, you're right. He probably does want Carrie Lake in both ways. But I'm not talking about him actually selecting them as vice president. What I'm saying is, you want to just put that out there. You just want to put that message out there repeatedly. You build that up in the people's minds because that's what he's been good at as a con man. He's been good at constantly putting out the same dribble, the same false message, the same whatever message he puts out there. He puts it out there repeatedly so much that his people actually believe it. And even on the other side where people don't believe it, they hear it so much, they have to start asking the question, is this really the case? Because they hear it so much, they start thinking, well, maybe we should ask about it. They know that it's not true, whatever craziness he's saying. But if you say it so much, some people will truly start to believe it, especially people who already want to believe you. They will more willingly accept that. And so if you just keep on hammering that home, DeSantis and Youngkin, they would make great vice presidents. I think I should choose from one of them, but I'm not sure yet. But I think both of them would make great vice presidents. Every time that dude's in front of a microphone, that should be his message. And what are they going to say in return? What are they going to say back to them? No, I don't want to be, no, I wouldn't make a great vice president. Well, that would take him out of that race. He doesn't have to select either one of them. Just keep putting that message in there so that when it comes time to vote, people don't vote for them for president. They vote for them. Maybe if they get selected as vice president, then they think, Great. I like DeSantis, and he's right in the position where he should be, vice president.
If I'm putting my money on who's going to come out that primary, I'm betting on the billionaire Glenn Youngkin, because he's keeping his head down. He's distanced himself from Trump. He's attempted to distance himself from the craziness of Ron DeSantis, and he's coming off as a polite, rich dude. That's how he's coming off from Virginia. That's how he's coming off to the nation. You live in Virginia. What are your thoughts on Glenn Youngkin?
I mean, he is very Trumpy in a lot of ways. He is a much more polished version of a Trump. He's one of these dudes, but at the same time, that's just something going to stick with that. He's a more polished version of a Trump type. He's all against CRT and all the other stuff, and went out there and he went out there and scared all these suburban parents, making him believe that their kids were somehow going to be taught all these horrible things, when none of these curriculums or policies or anything were even remotely in play in the state. There is no CRT curriculum in Virginia or anywhere in any other public school. They're not out here telling kids you have to do whatever with your gender identity. There's none of that stuff is happening. But he made all these parents believe that this stuff was happening when it clearly wasn't. He was a politician that used fear tactics in the worst kind of way, and he used them and he won. And so, I mean, the problem with that, I think the Republican Party is, if they're still going down that route, which I think they plan to a certain degree, I think the country in large part has moved beyond that. And we saw that in the midterm elections somewhat. People have moved beyond those scare tactics. The old shtick is up. The people are like, we're tired of hearing all that. We want real policies. We want our life to be better, And I was watching a clip on, I think it was on the John Oliver's, weekly show on HBO. And he showed a clip from, I think it was from Fox News. And they were talking about, the Democrats, they won because they gave all these young people, the young people came out and voted in massive and record numbers, and the Democrats gave them free drugs and free health care, and they made their education free. They gave them all this stuff. And I thought to myself, you're mad about that. But yeah, that's what they did. They came out and said, yeah, we know you guys smoke weed. We don't think there's anything wrong with it. And we're tired of you guys having to go to jail and suffer for it. So we're going to try and legalize it in as many places as we can. And at the very least, we're going to decriminalize it. And yes, we want to make sure that the tens of thousands, sometimes the hundreds of thousands of dollars that you paid to educate yourself so that you can help become a productive citizen in this country, we're going to try and give some of that money back to you, or at least forgive the debt so that you don't have to pay for it. And, and as far as other things like abortion, yeah, there's a lot of people out there that are saying, I don't want you trying to tell me what to do with my damn body. Republicans are always talking about small government and keeping government out of the people's lives, but they always want to bring the government into people's lives for some other reason that they like. They want to bring the government into people's lives when it comes to the bedroom. Oh, you can't have sex with who you want to have sex with. You can't marry who you want to marry. That's not okay. Oh, you can't have an abortion. A woman, you can't do with your body what you want to do. So no, you got pregnant. That's a consequence of you and your ill behavior. So what if you're 12 years old or 10 years old and you got raped? Doesn't matter. That's your fault, and you can't have an abortion. They're constantly trying to put the government in people's business when they're always on the other end saying, we want small government, we want government out of our lives. Well, if that's the case, then keep government out of your lives. If you're going to take on these sort of libertarian positions, then be a libertarian type, then to have true libertarian positions. But you're not. You're not a libertarian. Stop trying to pretend you are. You're Republican hypocrites.
You got that right. Hypocrites, the biggest ones. I got another one for you, Larry. What you got here from? I got 1, I got 4, and I got 7.
Let's see. We went with 6. We went with 2. Let's stay with the even numbers. Let's go with 4.
Okay. Here we go. Dems hold a blue wall in the Senate, drip red in Congress. Larry, let's get updated on how things are looking out there in this country for its federal, its Congress, and its Senate. Here's the update.
Jay, now that the Democrats have clinched the majority in the Senate, what's at stake for both parties in this Georgia runoff? Well, one of the most immediate notions is that if Democrats win that Georgia runoff, if Warnock wins, you've heard over the last few years the name Joe Manchin. Americans have become very familiar with that name. Democratic senator from West Virginia, conservative Democrat. He's long been the holdout vote on some very key votes in the Senate. Manchin's power over some of those very, very tight votes would not be as strong as it is now if there is a 51-seat majority in the Senate. And Democrats have signaled that because they have that majority, they're going to go on some key issues that the president has already laid out. Codifying Roe v. Wade is obviously one of the first initial things on the agenda. But we just heard the president, when he was speaking in Bali, reference that. He made this point, and it's worth noting here, which is that he said, I don't think there's enough votes to codify Roe. He just said that. And what he's referring to is that there are the votes in a Democrat-controlled Senate, but likely not in a GOP-controlled House, certainly not if Republicans take back the House. And so it goes to this larger notion of any legislation that comes out of a Democratic-controlled Senate would come up against most likely that GOP-controlled House, and vice versa, Diane.
So, Galen, Republicans need...
So there you have it, Larry. I think it's important for people to know what exactly can a president and a Senate do together when they're the same party. First of all, these federal judges and the Supreme Court, hold your nose for that. That is the most important part for me, because some of this pure Jim fuckery we've been getting from the Supreme Court, with this team sitting here and Raphael Warnock about to finish kicking Herschel Walker in the teeth in Georgia, we're not going to need Kristen Sinema. We're not going to need I want to have all the power Manchin from West Virginia. Larry, those are some of the things that those two parts of our government are going to have control over. How are you feeling about the Dems having the Senate and the presidency and the GOP getting the Congress?
Well, I think this idea of I think this if Warnock wins in Georgia, I understand that people don't always like Manchin and Kristen Sinema, but I would rather have them as Democrats in the Senate than have them as Republicans. And so I think it's going to work out well, even though Joe Manchin may feel like he doesn't have as much power, and maybe he doesn't. It's also going to give him a lot more cover in the sense, because when there's things that need to get passed that he would have a hard time selling to his constituency, because let's not forget that the senators, in the Senate, they are passing laws that affect all of us, that affect the entire country. But it's only his little state that gets to vote for him, So, and because West Virginia is so much smaller than so many states, they really have, the people in West Virginia have a disproportionate amount of representation versus people in California or New York or Florida or Texas.
Yes. They need to fix that, Larry. They need to fix that.
So the thing is that having that amount of cover, if the Democrats can say, we want to get this legislation passed, it's going to be close, as we expected it will always be, but they can say, we can, maybe they tell Kristen Sinema or Joe Manchin, we don't need your vote on this one. We would like your vote on this one so we can make a statement that we all voted united. But if it's going to be a problem for your constituency, we would rather you either abstain from voting or just vote no. That way you can go back to your voting block and say, hey, I didn't stand for this stuff. I stood up to my own party because I thought this was best. I think that it will give them cover, even though they may not have as much power. Now on the House side, it's not like I ever want to see the Democrats lose the House, but I honestly think this might be a blessing in disguise, because they, as the guy mentioned and I was just talking with my wife about this earlier tonight, over dinner, is that people very much want Roe codified. Women want to have a right to do what they want with their bodies. And because the Republicans took control of the House, there's no way in Sam Hillbilly's hell they are going to pass legislation that's going to allow women to have control of their bodies. And so what this is going to do is allow the Democrats to come out and say, you need to vote for us in 2024 because we need to get we need to get Roe codified. And they're going to say, we need to make sure we hold the Senate. we need to make sure we take back the House and we elect Joe Biden or whatever Democrats in there so that we can get this legislation passed. You don't have to vote for us forever, but you should vote for us this time because we need to get this vital legislation through. And I think that's going to be enough of an argument that people are going to say, you know what, we need to make sure that we have the Dems back in the House and the Senate and in the White House, even if it's just for one term, even if it's just for that, even if it's just for that 2 years after the primary, after the main election, the general election, and then after maybe in 2026, they go back to a split Congress again, or maybe split representation where you have the Democrats have the Senate, Republicans have the House, or vice versa, or maybe the Republicans take the House and the Senate, and we just have the White House. But I think this might be a blessing in disguise where they can then make the argument, because people weren't expecting abortion to be as big of an issue as it was. And when they did all the exit polls, it came out as the second most important issue behind inflation. And you have to assume, I mean, you could make the assumption, but we may not be, and I suspect with all of the financial tinkering they're doing, all the quantitative easing and all this other stuff that they're doing, we're not going to be in the same we're not going to be in the same economy today, that we are today 2 years from now. So when it comes down to election day 2 years from now, I don't think we're going to have the same inflation issues that we have today, which may move that abortion issue up into the number one slot. So
if, Larry, that is if they don't try, they said they're going to try to pass it before January gets here. I don't see that happening. You're talking about, there's a reason why people say an act of Congress needs to happen. I don't see them getting this done before the end of the year, which means you're going to have to do exactly what Larry said. It's a good one, Larry. That's a good one. So now I got 1, I got 5, and 7.
Let's see. Let's go with 5 and 7. So 1's off the table, right?
No, you got 1. You got 5, and you got 7.
All right, let's go with number 1.
No. Ladies and gentlemen, he's back. Trump announced last night, and here's the coverage of this piece of crap speech he gave, Bonanza.
In order to make America great and glorious again, I am tonight announcing my candidacy for President of the United States. Together, we will be taking on the most corrupt forces and entrenched interests imaginable. Our country is in a horrible state. We're in grave trouble. This is not a task for a politician or a conventional candidate. This is a task for a great movement that embodies the courage, confidence, and the spirit of the American people. This is a movement. This is not for any one individual. This is a job for tens of millions of proud people working together from all across the land and from all walks of life, young and old, black and white, Hispanic and Asian, many of whom we have brought together for the very, very first time. If you look at the numbers, if you look at what's happened with Hispanic, with African American, with Asian, and just look at what's happening. This is a party that has become much bigger, much stronger. I am running because I believe the world has not yet seen the true glory of what this nation can be. We have not reached that pinnacle, believe it or not. In fact, we can go very far. We're going to have to go far. First, we have to get out of this ditch. And once we're out, you'll see things that nobody imagined for any country. It's called the United States of America, and it's an incredible place.
Was you inspired, Larry? I mean,
no.
I've been inspired by 2 slugs racing more than I was by that speech. That man said it's a wonderful place. It's a fantastic place. This was him being presidential, Larry. Now, here's the caveat. Pretty much everyone in his family, except for Trump Jr., is bailing on him in this run. Even Ivanka is like, I don't want to do nothing with that. I don't want to do nothing with that. So that's why I really feel like Carrie Lake is going to be his VP if he wins the primary, because he's going to move her ass in the White House. Well, I want to hear what you think, Larry. Is he really running because he wants to help the country, or is he still trying to duck the long arm of the law that has seemed to be short when it comes to the Trumps?
Yeah, I think he's trying to duck the long arm of the law, and I think he's playing a very dangerous game here with his own freedom, because I feel like if he were to step to the powers that be and say, hey, like, he could probably call Joe Biden and be like, look, Joe, here's the deal. Call the dogs off. I'm not going to run again. I'm going to sit back. I'm going to go sit back at Mar-a-Lago. I'm going to play some golf, eat some giant slices of chocolate cake, and call it a life. Damn. I think they would leave him alone. I think they would just leave him alone, and he would go about his life. But he's putting himself back out there, and if he loses, he's going to have lost all the mystique that he currently has, or has left. And they're going to go after him with a vengeance. They might just tear they're going to tear through his financial records. They're going to tear through his company. His kids are going to be at risk because they're all tangled up in the same mess. That he's going to be in a world of hurt if he loses.
Larry, I'm loving every minute of this, because if he loses the primary, all he's going to do is be the attack dog for whoever wins the primary. And he's going to tear them down. He's going to talk junk. He's going to have his people believing that the elections are rigged. Ain't no point in showing up. I am cheering for him to make it to the very end with DeSantis and lose so he can tear DeSantis to smithereens. Larry, this is going to be a blessing in disguise for the Democrats.
It could be. And here's the thing. I think there's a high probability that we're going to see a third party run this time from conservatives, because there's already a group of conservatives out there.
They want Liz Cheney.
There's some that do. Yes.
If she runs, Larry, she's going to screw the Democrats, because she is the kind of Republican that a lot of us respect, we can get behind. And if she does run, she's going to pull people who's kind of in the middle, that lean blue. They lean right with her.
I think any third party that runs is going to be it's going to be a third party that leans more conservative. I think it's going to hurt the conservatives. Not that it won't hurt the Democrats, but I think it's going to hurt the conservatives more than it hurts us. And there's already a group of conservatives. I think the people that sort of were dealing with the Lincoln Project, I think some of those folks and some of the financiers behind there, they were talking already about running a third party if Trump, running a third party candidate if Trump runs again. I wouldn't be at all surprised if Trump loses the primaries, if he decides to run as a third party candidate, which would then split the vote horribly.
There you go.
I honestly think that we will probably see a third party candidate during this cycle, and it's going to hurt the Republicans far more than it hurts the Democrats. Even if they pick someone like Liz Cheney, there's a lot of people out there on the Democratic side that are saying, I don't care what she did. She's still the daughter of Darth Vader, and I just don't trust her. She's still very much a Republican, and I don't trust her. Although I don't like calling her the daughter of Darth Vader, because then that makes her Princess Leia, and I don't really think she's Princess Leia.
You can call her Princess Slayer.
Princess Leia. There you go.
Yeah. All right, Larry. I got a 5 and a 3. Last two on the ticket, a 5 and a 3.
Let's go with 5.
All right. Larry, how you like your racism? Do you like it when someone tell you they're racist and then tell you should respect them because they're being honest about being a racist? Is that how you like your racism?
I think the idea that someone is going to suggest I should respect them for being racist is absolutely ridiculous. But yeah, I think I would prefer to have a overt racist in front of me than somebody who's hiding it.
Yeah, I can agree with that. However, there are certain settings I don't want that racist in, and this is one of them. Take a look, Larry.
Deep down in my heart, I'm ethnocentric, which means I think my race is the superior one.
Oh, I haven't said it.
Hey, no, let me
look.
Hey, look.
So, white is better than all.
No, let me finish.
Go ahead.
I think everybody thinks that, they're just not honest about it.
Hey, I'm not racist, though. I like all types of kinds.
Did I say I don't like people?
People only think that.
Wait, so you said you are what? You are racist?
You're saying you're
racist?
I think everybody's a racist at that level.
No, like, you said you are racist.
I did. Yeah, I'm trying to be honest.
Yes, I'm racist.
No, I'm not saying it again. I've said it enough.
So you're racist.
Yes, you just said I.
Put your phone up.
I
actually respected you for a while, but like
I'm putting
now,
your phone out. I don't even got no more respect for you.
Put it up.
Yeah, for real. I don't think I got respect for him no more, bro.
You know, you should have more respect because I'm honest.
Let me read this to you, Larry. It says, Texas teachers out of a job after viral video showed him telling a class with black students in it that he is a racist. Deep down in my heart, I'm ethnocentric, which means I think my race is the superior one. The teacher told students at Bowles Middle School, which is about 20 miles northeast of Austin. And then they get down here, they talk a little bit about how Greg Abbott has passed all these rules to try to quote unquote eliminate critical race theory. Says Texas Governor Greg Abbott enacted a law last year that limits what can be taught in public schools to a list of founding documents, along with some additions by women and people of color. Although it is one of many Republican-authored legislative attempts to ban critical race theory in school, the Texas law doesn't even mention the framework by name. Damn.
Yeah.
So, Larry, how much more can you try to lie about the history of this country and still try to get people to have pride in the history of this country? You basically telling kids Christopher Columbus sailed his ass over here, found natives and friended them, shook hands with them. They invited him into his house, and that nothing happened. It was peaches and roses. The English settlers came over here, befriended the natives, and we're all hunky-dory having Thanksgiving because we became friends. Now, how dumb does that sound, Larry? How dumb does that sound?
Yeah, see, that's the thing. And this is, I think, really part of the problem is that you have the people who want to say, you know, don't teach critical race theory or whatever, blah, blah, blah. The problem is that people have access to the internet now. Like the information that people are learning now has always been available, or maybe not always, but it's been available. And it's just been more difficult to access. And now it's easy to access it. You can learn about all this type of stuff. You could, if you happen to be a ninth grader and you want to go and learn college level history, you can go and take a free Harvard College, university level class, for free online. You can go to the iTunes U or something and take all kinds of great classes and learn all kinds of stuff. So information is readily available where it didn't used to be. And so, this idea that we're not going to teach people things and people are upset about CRT or whatever else. The thing is, one thing that makes people upset is that they've been lied to for so long. And now they're able to see the truth. They're able to hear the truth. They're able to read the truth and learn the truth. And now they don't trust, because they're like, why should I trust you? For how many ever years when I was in school or I was in this or in that, you've been lying to me. Why should I trust you? And that's part of the problem with the people are so easily susceptible to some of these conspiracies, because they're like, we've been lied to about so much stuff. Now they're thinking, okay, I'm going to go do some research. And so they click an article and then they go and read another article. And next thing, they're 25 articles deep and they all say the same thing. So now they think they've done some research and now they're down a rabbit hole of conspiracy instead of teaching people the true and correct history of this nation.
100%.
If you teach it right to the kids when they're young. And the thing that really shocked me, but really bothered me about this video is that, and you look at those young kids in that class, those young boys that were in the video, they were so uncomfortable. They were laughing when he first said it, they all laughed and they giggled. You could tell they didn't laugh and giggle because they thought it was funny. They laughed and they giggled because they were so uncomfortable with what was said in the situation that they found themselves in. Because you see the one young boy that came and sat down, once he sat down, he had a little bit of a uncomfortable giggle on his face, and then you could see his end reaction. You could see how he started once he really felt comfortable speaking back and was saying, I don't think I can respect you anymore. I don't think I respect you anymore. You're telling me that you think that your race is better. I can't respect you anymore. And the other little boy on the computer that was next to him, he said, yeah, I don't think I can respect you either. I mean, that was sort of like that moment is like all the teenage, or preteen, middle school, high school, whatever they are, sort of jokiness and laughiness went out, and all that uncomfortableness started to fade. They really could see the guy just sort of like, I don't think I respect you anymore. You're telling me you think that you're better than me simply because of the color of your skin. And he said, I'm saying, yeah, I'm a racist. Well, how can I trust you're ever going to treat me fairly? You're in a position of authority. You're a teacher. You're grading me. You are literally grading me in my work, and you're making decisions that are going to effectively decide the future of my life. If you give me a bad grade, that may prevent me from going to the school that I want to go to, which may prevent me from getting into the program I want to get to. It may prevent me from going, and maybe I want to be in an AP class next year, and your grade is saying I can't go and be in that class, which may prevent me from doing the things in life I want to do. And it's because you are a racist and you don't think that my work is as good as somebody else who's white. And so it's just, I mean, this dude needs to go. He definitely needs to go. He needs to be out. He should be fired. He should have his teaching license revoked. He should never be able to teach another student publicly or privately. He should be done.
Yeah, but Larry, but that's not the only job he shouldn't do. He shouldn't be doing anything dealing with serving the public, because he just told you he can't be unbiased in serving the public. He just told you he can't do that. The only thing this man is good for now is farming and picking up trash. You can't work in the hospital. You shouldn't be a police officer. You damn near can't drive an Uber. You definitely don't need to be back in nobody's school system. I mean, that my man is about as good as a $2 bill cut in half, and I'm fine with him telling you what he is, but at the same time, you got to suffer the consequences of you telling us what the hell you is. Yeah, I respect you for telling us what you are. Now get your ass on up out of here. Just because you tell the unabridged truth does not mean it doesn't come with consequences. So I'm assuming he's prepared to deal with the consequences. I'm assuming maybe that day, Larry, he wanted to lose his job. Why else would you tell a classroom full of kids in the era we live in now, where we can record everything, that you believe your race is superior? Was this some kind of Christianity mission? Well, does he believe in his mind the Bible has told him they're superior? Or is he just been one of these people that's been emboldened by this MAGA movement? What do you think?
I think he's been emboldened by this MAGA movement. I think people have gone out there and they have felt that they're safe to say and do what they want to do without any consequence, because they have watched a lot of people go out there and say and do things with very little, if any, consequence. You have these people that literally try to overthrow our duly elected government in this country, and little to nothing has happened to them. You have a few people that got convicted of 18 months, 4 or 5 months.
Larry, the maximum punishment anyone has gotten so far, 2 people have gotten, one got 8 years, one got 6 years, but that's been the 2 maxes.
And that's it. And I mean, it's the consequences for the vast majority of people have been little to none, and no politicians have suffered anything from it. And so there's people out there that feel, and we've dealt with this problem throughout the Trump administration, and since he came on, is that people feel because Trump is lying and his people are lying, that they can lie, and then they can say the truth. Then they feel like they can say, I don't need to worry about lying. I can say what I want to say and no one could do anything to me. And they feel like because they're white and they've had this protected status for so long that they can say and do whatever they want. And we are starting to be a country that says, no, you don't get to be that way. You don't get to teach our young boys and girls and sit up there and grade them, and then at the same time say that you believe you're better than them and that you're racist. You can take that somewhere else. You know, take that somewhere else, but you don't get to teach these young boys and girls that. This is not what America is supposed to be about. Even if America has been about that for a long time, America is not supposed to be about that. And we are finally, I think, starting to get to a point in this country where the American citizenry is demanding that America lives up to the ideals of this country, that we have certain ideals, that we are all created equal, that we all have equal opportunity, that we all deserve and should be here in an equal and just way. And I feel like people are trying to make that a realization. Now, I get it. Whenever there's people in power and they start losing power and their backs are against the wall, they start acting like rabid dogs and they want to fight and kick and scream. And we saw that on January 6th. They feel like they're losing their power and they're fighting and kicking and screaming. And and there's people out there like this guy who he's in Texas. He feels comfortable to say this. He would never have said this if he was in New York or if he was in California or Oregon. He wouldn't have felt comfortable to say this.
Right,
you know?
right.
But he feels like he can do that there. And there's somebody in the comments section. I'm just gonna say, if you want your comments read, hit a super chat. You want your comment, you want your lunacy spoken, you want your people to see your, hit a super chat and we'll address some of your stuff. Otherwise, just knock it off.
I mean, Larry, it doesn't bother me. Everything this person is saying clearly lets people know just how uneducated his ass is. So, I mean, it's one of those situations, Larry, where it's too stupid to talk about. You know, I'm not going to go here and be arguing with, my grandma used to say, two fools arguing with each other is good for what? I said, what is it good for, Grandma? She said, absolutely nothing. So no, I mean, when you see certain things that people say and do, it already tells you how great their information is about politics in general. And then it further tells you what their biases are. And so no, I mean, no, absolutely not.
Now, I will say this. Because I come from a family of relatively conservative people. I should probably say very conservative people in a lot of ways. My dad, God rest his soul, was a law enforcement officer for 33 years. He was a deputy sheriff. My mother is an attorney who was a prosecutor on both the county and state level. I have parents that are not these far left-wing liberal types. My parents were law enforcement types. They are conservative people. And I can say there are Black Republicans in my family. And I can tell you right now that what a lot of these young Black folks are out here that are trying to espouse and they're trying to say that is not Black conservatism. That is a brand of self-hating white conservatism. And I say self-hating because even those white Republicans out there, the vast majority of them hate themselves. They are voting against their own self-interest. They do not vote in such a manner that would benefit their lives. They vote in such a way that they think it makes them feel superior, but really it just hurts them. It hurts them and it hurts their children. And it's going to continue to hurt them and hurt their children. And those same people are going to remain in poverty. They're going to remain on food stamps. They're going to remain needing social services. They're not going to ever really prosper because they're going to continue to vote for people that are going to send their jobs overseas. They're going to continue to vote for people that are going to close plants. They're going to continue to vote for people that are going to try and limit unions. They're going to vote for all the wrong people because those people are going to try and make them feel good about being white. And voting for those types of people as a Black person is not Black conservatism. It's just a form of self-hatred.
Shout out to the homie Ronald Cameron coming through with the 499. I appreciate you there, my big brother. Last but not least, Larry, I got a good one for you. How does it feel, Larry, to know for the first time since 1972, I wasn't even born then, we're going back to the moon, ladies and gentlemen. And not only are we going back, Larry, but we're going to have African Americans going to the moon. We're going to have Negro knots in the moon. Nigronauts are going to the moon. Here we go, Larry. Take a look at this. I'm so excited. You know I'm into my nerd science. I can't wait. Here we go.
We rise together, back to the moon and beyond. Roaring off Launch Pad 39B at the Kennedy Space Center, the next chapter in America's love affair with all things space.
You're looking at 8.8 million pounds of maximum thrust.
NASA's Artemis rocket, the most powerful ever built, headed for a 26-day uncrewed orbit around the moon. The liftoff at 1:47 a.m. coming after NASA had to scrub August and September attempts due to a bad sensor and a fuel leak. Then Hurricanes Ian and Nicole pushed the launch into November. Overnight, another fuel leak triggered a pause before mission controllers gave the green light to continue.
I'm telling you, we've never seen such a tail of flame. This is just the test flight. And we are stressing it and testing it in ways that we will not do to a rocket that has a human crew on it.
Artemis is the twin Greek god of Apollo with perfect aim, a test flight before astronauts fly a crewed flight around the moon. And then in 2025 or later, a woman and person of color will climb inside the Orion space capsule and eventually land on the moon for the first time since 1972. The ultimate goal, build a lunar base and space station for future missions to Mars. Just like Apollo, the astronauts on Orion will lift off on their backs, but there's 30% more room inside Orion than Apollo, which means there's room for 4 astronauts instead of 3. Now, right over there is a retractable rowing machine for exercise, and right there is a commode. Orion's return will also look like Apollo, but re-entering the Earth's atmosphere hotter and faster, parachuting into the Pacific Ocean. Splashdown for this mission set for December 11th off San Diego.
Larry, I'm so excited.
Yeah.
All the elements and things that we find on Earth, they're on the moon. We literally, because the moon does not rotate on an axis the way Earth does. The same side we see of the moon is the side we see all the time, which means that there is a side of the moon that is always getting sunlight. Larry, I read a statistic 10 years ago that was saying how they could lay a few thousand strips of solar panels and refract the energy back to Earth and could power every city in the United States off of about 5 strips, because the sun is constant and the rays that it gets are more direct because there's no ozone, there's no thick ozone protecting the moon. And so having said that, Larry, I'm saying before me and you die, rich people are going to be moving to the damn moon, okay? It is going to become a vacation destination. And since I'm one of the only weirdo black people I know that want to go to weird places like the moon and Antarctica, me, Elle, the wife, anybody in my friend circle that's going to get rich, all you got to get me for Christmas is my trip to the moon.
There you go.
Floor is yours, Larry. Floor is yours, whatever you want to say about this mission going back to the moon for the first time since 72.
This is going to be exciting, man. This is going to be exciting. It'd be great if they send a black person up to the moon and they get up there and something malfunctions with their mask and their helmet comes off and comes depressurized, and they're like, it turns out black folks don't need the suit on the moon.
Bruh.
And all of a sudden it was like, black folks are great. We can live in outer space, boy. That'd be something else. Black folks would be like,
Larry,
rocket off out this bitch.
You know what they could do, Larry? Since the country still has not paid us our reparations,
just give us the moon.
Just give us the damn moon. Well, they can't do that because no one technically can claim the moon. It's in one of the treaties. There's in a treaty that no country can claim all of the moon. But hell,
yeah.
If y'all shipped our ass from Africa to here, ship our ass from America to the moon and let us do what we want to do. And that's how we can get it done. But on a serious note,
it would definitely be something else.
Everything that you find on Earth, you find on the moon, plus some other minerals and elements. And Larry, you knew it was only a matter of time before they get a base up there and they start utilizing all that. So that's what Elon Musk is doing with all his technology. Everything he makes here is a beta test for what he's going to be doing on Mars. Everything.
I thought the Chinese already started building a base up there. I thought the Chinese already started building a base. Yeah, I thought they already started, but maybe not. Well, I will say, I know they said that. I saw something the other day that said there's mirrors. I guess with the last time they went to the moon, they put these mirrors up there, and they've been using. They use high-powered lasers to do all kinds of experiments and such. So it'll be curious. I'm curious to see once they get there. I mean, it'll be interesting when they start when they do a moon base. But it'll be interesting to see how what comes out of some of these experiments and what kind of technology how it gets advanced. They're going to have to create some sort of gravitational field for the people that are there, because otherwise, if you try and live in a moon base for too long, we've seen how some of these astronauts that have come back from the International Space Station, they have all kinds of health issues when they come back to planet Earth, where they have a gravity field. So they're gonna have to do something, because if you have a base, people are going to be stationed at this base for extended periods of time, and you can't do that right now with our current biology. So. But I'm looking forward to it, man. I want to see what comes from this. It's going to be exciting times.
Larry, we might see the first space baby.
Yeah, maybe. I wonder how that. I guess one thing, if you go up there and she's pregnant, but what happens if you have conception up there as well? The whole thing.
Larry, I can go ahead and tell you right now, for a fact, sex has been had on the ISIS. It's an experiment. It's a lab test, okay? And ladies and gentlemen, we'll leave it right there. Don't forget to like the video. Shout out to Pretty Girl Loves Trap. Shout out to Motown 20, who is very ill-informed about politics. Shout out to Ron Cameron, Independent Thoughts, and everybody that tuned in to see us tonight. We're grateful to have you. Larry, what you got going on your channel the rest of this week, and we'll get out of here.
Oh man, well, I'm still working on my review of the Pixel 7 Pro. I filmed some of it. I got to get some B-roll together so I can finish up making the video here. I have to say, I have mixed feelings about it. I do have a new phone coming in. I finally just broke down and got it because they had a ridiculous deal. If some of you are looking for a high-end phone and you have a nice phone, right now Samsung has some insane deals. I actually just ordered the Samsung Galaxy Fold 4, which is normally like $1,800, and they have this deal.
$1,800.
Yeah, it's like $1,800, but they have this deal where if you have a Fold 3 or a S22 Ultra or some other or iPhone or some other high-end phone, they'll give you up to $1,000 off the phone, and then they'll give you another $300-$400 off the price of the phone. Even there, so I ended up getting. I have a Z Fold 3, so I got $1,000 off there. They gave me like another $300-$400 off the phone from there, from just the promotion. And then because I have a military discount, I think they gave me like another $162 off or something like that. So I ended up paying next to nothing for the phone. The phone comes out, I think it's coming out to like, I don't know, 200 and something bucks. I don't know. It's next to nothing. And so if you're looking for a new phone, a high-end phone, there are some, like right now, Black Friday is coming up. There's all kinds of great deals. I'm going to be talking about some of those deals on my channel in the next week or two. But I have some more reviews and some more comparisons coming up from different cameras and phones and whatnot. So it's going to be this time's always sort of a fun time and a busy time, and because there's a lot of tech that comes out in October, September, October. They always call it Techtober. And then from like November on through Christmas, it's just a ridiculous barrage of people sending you stuff and constantly telling people, no, I don't have time. But there's going to be a lot of good products coming out. So check out the channel if you haven't already.
You definitely should, because I want you guys winning. If you ain't rocking with Larry, you ain't winning. You can't win in this game of being an African-American who know his tech things if you ain't rocking with Larry. Like that video. We'll see you later.
Peace.